Hello everyone. I would like to make a short video about what is monogenic diabetes. Many people do not know about monogenic diabetes. People know about type 2 diabetes, which is the commonest type of diabetes which occurs in adults. A lot of people also know about type 1 diabetes, which occurs in children. And if you have type 1 diabetes, you have to take lifelong insulin throughout your life. The child or young adult has to take the insulin 3 or 4 times a day for the rest of their life. But apart from these, there are other forms of diabetes called as monogenic diabetes. And that's what I'm going to briefly talk about today. As the name itself implies, monogenic means a single gene is involved. Mono is single, genic is genetic. Therefore, a single gene is involved. In our body, there are thousands of genes. But there are also genes which control the pancreatic insulin secretion. If one of those genes is affected or mutated from birth, then you can get these monogenic forms of diabetes. Now, some of these monogenic forms of diabetes are mistaken as type 1 diabetes, and the child will be asked to take insulin injection throughout life. If you are able to correctly suspect and diagnose monogenic diabetes by doing genetic testing, then some of these children can stop the insulin and be converted to tablets. And that's the importance of monogenic diabetes. We have just set up a center for monogenic diabetes at Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center and the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation at Gopalapuram in Chennai. Our research center is also shown here. In Siruseri, you can see the big sprawling campus that we have at our Siruseri, and that's our Gopalapuram center. And in both these places, the Center for Monogenic Diabetes has been set up. It's been just inaugurated by the Honorable Health Minister of Tamil Nadu, Shri Thiru Ma Subramanian. So let's go to the subject of monogenic diabetes. Monogenic diabetes refers to a group of disorders where the diabetes is caused by a defect in a single gene. As I said, mono is one and genic is gene. About 2 to 5% of all the diabetes cases in the pediatric and young age group is caused by monogenic diabetes. And the importance of this is if you are able to do the genetic test and identify it, the treatment for that child or the young adult can change. Specifically, I'd like to talk about 4 types of monogenic diabetes. In fact, 3 of them are diabetes and the other is a low sugar or hypoglycemia. These 3 types are, the commonest is maturity onset diabetes in the young or MODY. Then there is something called as neonatal diabetes, which is diabetes which occurs in the first 6 months of age. There are certain syndromic forms of neonatal diabetes, where apart from the diabetes, you also have liver problem or kidney problem or something else, which is called a syndromic form of diabetes. This also can be diagnosed by doing genetic tests. And the last one is not diabetes, but the opposite, low sugars. So we have hypoglycemia, congenital hyperinsulinemia with hypoglycemia or low sugars. This can also be diagnosed by doing a genetic test. Very briefly, I'll tell you about these. Now, these are the places in India from where we get samples for doing the genetic test. Many years ago, the Indian Council of Medical Research recognized our center, the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, as a center for doing this kind of work. Now we get samples, as you can see, from virtually every part of the country. We get blood samples from these children or young adults, and we are able to diagnose whether they have one of these monogenic forms of diabetes and give them the proper treatment. How do we do this? We do it by a genetic test. This is the equipment that we use. It's called a Sanger sequencing, and this is done at the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. The numbers are not small. We have close to 1,500 or 1,500 people who have been referred to us for this testing. MODY itself is almost 1,000. Neonatal diabetes is 274. Monogenic syndromes is 51. And this hypoglycemia is 152. So close to 1,500 such samples we have received and done the testing for. Now, why should we bother about this? Now, here is 7 children where you can see where they had mutations in either the ABCC8 gene or the KCNJ11 gene. Now, before the genetic testing was done, they had very high blood sugars. You can see HbA1c is 16, 10, 11, etc. And the blood sugar, you can see 460, 300, and so on. After we did this genetic test, we stopped the insulin and changed these children over to a very commonly used tablet, a sulfonylurea. And after that, you can see a dramatic drop in the HbA1c. The sugars have all gotten the control now. You can see the fasting blood sugars come from 460 to 120, from 300 to 105. So complete control has been achieved because that genetic defect that the child had has been set right by taking the sulfonylurea tablet. Now, we have not stopped with that. We have continued to follow these children. The dotted line shows when the child came to us for the treatment, and you can see some of the blood sugars so high, 1,200, 800, 400, and so on. These are all different children, and these are mutations that we found. And after stopping the insulin and changing the child to tablet, you can see a dramatic reduction in the blood sugar level. Now the blood sugars are almost 100, 150 in the normal range. And 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years after these children came to us, they still continue to have normal blood sugars. As far as these children are concerned, it's almost like a miracle that they're able to stop insulin and in fact be better controlled with the tablets. Now, this is an opposite situation. I told you about this condition called congenital hypoglycemia. You can see the blood sugars here, 20, 30, 40, and so on. So these children underwent the genetic testing. Then we found out that they had congenital hyperinsulinemia. Then we gave them a tablet called as diazoxide. And after treating the child with that, you can see the blood sugars have come back to normal. In almost all the children, it's come back to normal. And again, it's kept for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line. The children are still very well controlled. Now, to spread awareness about this, we've already started what is called as the Neonatal and Monogenic Diabetes Registry of India. If you Google www.neonataldiabetes.in, you will get the details. And this explains how the blood should be taken, about the informed consent, how to contact us, the telephone numbers as to how to contact us. So any one of you in India who is watching this particular program, if you know of a child who has been diagnosed before 1 year of age, or if you think that a child may not have type 1 diabetes and you like a second opinion or something, please refer them to us. At the end of this video, I'll give you some email IDs and cell phone numbers, and please feel free to contact us. If you can help such children, it would be great. Now, the significance of our work is that the genetic diagnosis helps in correcting the treatment, the correct diagnosis, and to plan the management of monogenic diabetes. We've been able to, it's very gratifying that we've been able to help hundreds of such children, very often even from very poor socioeconomic status, where we have helped them out by doing free genetic testing as well. And of course, those who can afford, then they paid for the services. But we would be very happy to reach out to everybody in India. So spread this message, share this video, and if you know any child who has type 1 diabetes, please pass on, or any child with diabetes for that matter, please pass on this information to them and share with them this video as well as our contact details, and we would be happy to get back to them and try to help them. And with that, I'd like to thank you for listening to this video. Thank you very much. Is that okay? Harish? Harish?
Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't stream myself, but I was talking to you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, no? It's come out okay,
Yes,
no?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'll start the second recording.
Yes,
okay?
sir. Shankar Netralayan, we can start.
Yeah. So I'm going to again put share and.
It is about 7 minutes, I think. 7 minutes.
Yeah, 6 to 7 minutes.
7
That's
minutes.
Okay. Now I'll go to the next one. This is the one. So I'll put share. Click on that. No. Something else happened. Exit full screen. Now I'll put this. Is it coming?
Once it's coming, sir. Can you make it full screen, sir?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So can we also
I'll
check
just,
the Diana video, sir? Whether
it's
it
working.
is
It's
also.
working. We just checked it. We just checked it. So okay, so I'll start.
Yes, sir. 1 second, sir. I'll remove myself, sir. Within
Yeah,
3 seconds, we can start.
yeah. So again, you can send the message. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. V. Mohan, Chairman of Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all the viewers and all the faculty and delegates a very happy World Diabetes Day. Due to various other programs, I'm unable to attend this in person, but I'm happy to give this talk virtually and to send you the video. I'd like to particularly thank Dr. Rajiv Raman and all the colleagues from Shankar Nethralaya who invited me to give this talk. I'd also like to thank my colleagues and ophthalmologists and the diabetologists at Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center who helped in carrying out this screening for diabetic retinopathy in our center. The topic allotted to me is the diabetologist's role in diabetic retinopathy screening in India, and I hope I can give you an overview as to why the diabetologist should also be involved in diabetic retinopathy screening. First of all, if you look at the numbers of people with type 2 diabetes, in India, currently we have about 77 million people with diabetes, and these numbers are set to increase to some 134 million in the next few years. So that's a lot of people. And imagine that all these people have to be screened not just once, but on an annual basis. And you can imagine the amount of work involved. And naturally, just by ophthalmologists alone, this cannot be done. And we have to involve general physicians as well as diabetologists. Now, just to give you a flavor about how these numbers, the 77 million and all that came, we have the ICMR India Diabetes Study, or the INDIAB study. This was done in the whole country, 29 states and 2 union territories, funded by the ICMR and the Department of Health Research. And it has a sample size of 124,000 people. And when the first 15 states were completed, we published this in Lancet Diabetes. And what we showed, and Dr. Anjana is actually the first author of this paper. And what we showed there was huge differences in the prevalence of diabetes shown in red here, with Bihar, for example, in those first 15 states having the lowest prevalence, and Chandigarh, the Union Territory, having the highest prevalence of diabetes. In the next round, when we finish the other 15 states, there are states with much higher prevalence. For example, Kerala, Goa, and so on. The prevalence is almost between 20 to 25% of the whole population. But the very another interesting point which this INDIAB study brought out is the blue one. If you look at the blue, this is the GDP of the state. In other words, the gross domestic product, or how rich a state is. So you can see the poorer the state, the less the diabetes. And as the diabetes prevalence goes up, you can see the GDP of the state is also going up. So there is a fairly good correlation between the economic development and diabetes, because they put on weight then and then get diabetes as well. Now, these 77 million people with diabetes in India, how well are they controlled? Again, we have data from the INDIAB where we have looked at the glycemic control. You know that the HbA1c test has to be below 7%. But if you look at the national data, less than 1/3 of people have an A1C below 7. And if you look at the other end of the spectrum, HbA1c above 9, which is very poor control, almost 40% of people in rural areas and 32% of people in urban India have A1C above 9%. Now, this naturally results in a huge burden of diabetes complications. You can see the retinopathy shown here. And I know that there are excellent studies from Shankar Nethralaya, from Arvindai Hospital, from LV Prasad, from Dr. Nadarajan's center in Mumbai, and many others. What's interesting is that almost all of us got the same results. In urban or rural Tamil Nadu or anywhere else where it's been studied, approximately 17-18% of people having diabetic retinopathy in these population-based studies. The reason I put up this slide is that for you to know as ophthalmologists, there is not just retinopathy that patients with diabetes have, they also have kidney disease, neuropathy, peripheral vascular disease, and coronary artery disease. And all these are population-based studies, both in urban and rural India. In fact, these are some of the only data on complications from India. So we have a huge burden of diabetes-related complications. For example, let's look at retinopathy. Probably 14 million people with diabetic retinopathy in India. And therefore, a lot of work for ophthalmologists to do. But on a more sober note, chance of becoming blind quite high if it is not detected early and treated early. Now, one more point I just wanted to share with you is that not all people with type 2 diabetes have the same risk for microvascular complications. Last year, we published a paper in BMJ Open Diabetes where we showed that there are novel subgroups of type 2 diabetes in Indians, and their associated microvascular complications also changes. For example, there are 4 types of subtypes of diabetes. There is a severe insulin deficient diabetes, or SID. These are lean people, young people, BMI is lower, and they have more severe diabetes. And these are people who are more prone to retinopathy, actually. There's an opposite type. People are obese and insulin resistant. These people are more prone to kidney disease and heart disease, not so much to eye disease. We also described for the first time a new variety of type 2 diabetes in Asian Indians, and that is a combined insulin resistant deficient variety of CIRDD. People with this type of diabetes are most difficult to control, and also they are more prone to both kidney disease as well as retinopathy. And finally, we have the mild age-related diabetes, which comes in older age group, and they are relatively protected from the complications of diabetes, including retinopathy. So what is the clinical relevance of the clustering? That's exactly what I just showed you, that if you look at the severe insulin deficient variety, they are more prone to retinopathy, whereas if you look at the chronic kidney disease, it's insulin resistant variety which is more prone. But interestingly, as I told you, the CIRDD, the combined variety, is more prone to both retinopathy as well as to nephropathy. We have also designed what's called as the Diana software. The Diana stands for Diabetes Novel Subgroup Assessment, or Diana tool. So what happens is that if you enter the all the findings, for example, BMI, waist, HbA1c, triglyceride, C-peptide, even without C-peptide, you can find out. There is a software which will calculate and tell you that this patient most probably has severe insulin deficient variety, that the risk of retinopathy is 62%, and this patient can be treated with insulin sulfonylurea DPP-4 inhibitor. So we are able to not just treat everybody in the same way, but this is precision diabetes at its best. And this is something which we now have started practicing at our center, because we're able to determine the risk for developing retinopathy, nephropathy, etc. I just wanted to show you how useful diabetes electronic medical records can be. We started our electronic medical records as far back as 1991. So we are now have these records for 30 years. In 1996, we completely converted into an online diabetes electronic medical records. Today, we have more than 500,000, 540,000 individuals with diabetes in this electronic records. It's a very useful tool for clinical and research purposes. For example, it tells you, this is some of our publications on this. This is what happens when the patients come to our center. They register at the front desk, go through the history, they see the consultants, they go to the lab, get the eye test done. So this is where the role of the diabetologist comes. They check the eyes of almost all the patients who come to us, and then they meet the consultant, then they have the diet advice, then they pick up the medicine in the pharmacy and they can go. So in this whole cycle, this is called as total diabetes care. Not only the kidney, but the eyes and the feet and the nerves and the heart, and everything can be checked at the same sitting, so that before the patient completes the consultation, all the results also come in. And of course, we have serial data. You can see the HbA1c coming down over a period of 2 years, 3 years. We have all the data stored in the electronic records. This is lipids. You can see cholesterol, triglyceride, HDL, all the data we have on a continuous basis. This is one of the things which all of you would be interested in. And this is a project which was done by Dr. Rajalakshmi and colleagues. where we validated a smartphone-based retinal photography for diabetic retinopathy using the Remedio camera. And using this smartphone-based retinal camera, we're able to get excellent images. And because of the low cost, we have now installed these in all our clinics across India, all the 50 branches in 32 cities. We have installed this in 8 states of India. We have installed this. And so every patient who comes in can have the eye photographed, and instantly we can refer them to the ophthalmologist if indicated. And we have shown the value of this. In fact, we believe that the prevalence of proliferative retinopathy and sight-threatening retinopathy can come down if all diabetologists screen. So my take-home message is exactly on that point, that diabetologists have a wonderful opportunity to screen for diabetic retinopathy. Patients go to the ophthalmologist usually after they develop symptoms, and therefore they come to ophthalmologists relatively late. In a diabetes clinic, screening for all complications can be done at the time of diagnosis and routinely thereafter every year, and therefore provides an opportunity for screening and detecting diabetic retinopathy early. And with that, I would like to thank Dr. Rajiv Raman and all my colleagues at Shankar Nethralaya. Congratulate you for taking up this event on World Diabetes Day, and also thank all my diabetologists and ophthalmologists, particularly Dr. Rajalakshmi and Dr. Pratibha and their team for leading all the work on diabetic retinopathy at our center. Thank you very much. Okay, Harish, over. Done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am here, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's fine, sir.
This one is, you can just send it to Rajiv Raman with a covering
Yes,
letter. We'll send it. I've already sent the bio and all that. The other one, now you can make it into different videos. Show it to me, add the thumbnail and all that. And we
Yes,
have the
sir.
English, Tamil. All of them we'll try to upload before World Diabetes Day. Okay.
Sir, title like what I can differ, sir. Like one video we can have what is monogenic diabetes.
I think that can be the same for the other one. For the short one, you can say Center for Monogenic Diabetes inaugurated.
1 second, sir. I just
Center for Monogenic Diabetes inaugurated.
Yes, sir.
That can be the first one. Second one can be what is monogenic diabetes, or second one can be do all children, that will be more attractive. Do all children
Yes, sir.
with diabetes need insulin?
Need insulin, question mark, and diabetes.
That's all. And in Tamil, you translate that. We already
Yes.
written that for a thing. நீரிழிவு நோய் இருக்கிற எல்லா குழந்தைங்களுக்கும் இன்சுலின் தேவையா?
Insulin தேவையா? Yes, sir.
Insulin தேவையா? That is what we wrote. So that's the third one. Fourth one can be what is monogenic diabetes, the longer one.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Okay. Now make the thumbnails, and then if we have anything else on monogenic diabetes or MODI or anything, you put that. Otherwise, put the, we have a TED talk on that. You can give the link to that, where I've talked about a person who went off insulin after diagnosing MODI, diabetes, and all that. It was my TED talk. So whatever
Yes.
links, connection to this, you can put. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Then, so this is all gone. Now, as a blog, what is monogenic diabetes? This one which we prepared today and we gave it in the press release,
Yes, sir.
That same one, we can make it into a blog, maybe with some minor changes. We'll see whether many changes needed.
Sir,
Then
senior
it's
members also.
in our website, if you want, you can put it. But there is a blog.com or something like that. Let us see whether there, if you put it, gets a little more visibility. Because I remember
Yes.
that Samson telling me that if you put it in the blog.com, it gets picked up more and all that. So find out where we can put that. And just
Yes, sir.
put what is monogenic diabetes, put my name or this thing, put all the address and contact, everything. Put the blog into that and push it off
Yes.
into that. We'll see how it goes. Huh? Then after that, we will give links to that in social media. We'll give then all these things which come, the write-ups which come, inaugurations which come, All that we'll start putting into social media. So the noise level, those who miss one day, next day they'll catch it. So like
Yes,
that
sir.
we will do. So a big push for monogenic diabetes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Now we can follow up with them and then see. Now we have
Yes,
all
sir.
these programs coming, recordings coming, and all the Sun TV and News 18, News 7, whatever. Record all of them and put
Yes,
them
sir.
somewhere as playlists, play this thing and all that. So let people watch.
Yes, sir.
I'm a
Today
little
NDTV is
disappointed. I was saying because this chap was talking so much about sun life and all that. I was so I thought this was one of the big things of Sun TV. Now I'm wondering whether it's one of those chota ones which don't matter because I don't know. I don't watch any TV, so I don't know. I don't watch TV at all. I don't switch on the TV at all. So I don't know about TV, what happened. But when I saw he was talking about Mohan Kameshwar and this, that, when I went to those 500 views, 400 views after 6 months, 1 year, this is less than what we get for our ordinary videos. No? For Sun TV, whereas Pudhiya Talamure and those things where they had done live kind of thing, lakhs and millions and all, it was going.
yes, sir.
So I wonder what the catch is. Maybe the Sun Life is not
So
popular. I
Sun
don't know.
Life is a TV, sir. It's exclusively, they put only uh, period films and period music. So it is exclusively watched by the older generation. So that's why they call it Sun Life. So they put
Okay.
MTR, those sort of.
So how is the impact finally when the TV comes? I mean,
That
the
is why
program.
they have this program, geriatric and all that, little more geriatric programs, they take it to Sun Life because it's got a separate clientele. If you look at
Okay.
general Sun TV, it is more on the entertainment front. If you look
Oh.
at Sun Life, it is more on the infotainment front. So that is why they separate the whole thing, sir. So this is it will hit the right target also. In Sun TV, it will get diluted because it's
Still
more of
see
an.
whether Sun News or one of the others. Pudhiya
Yes,
Talamare
sir, I'm
didn't
still
come
trying,
today.
sir.
See,
Now I'm trying for Sun News and Tanti still. We'll try and get some.
tomorrow if they can
Yeah,
come and take a bite,
bite we will
World
definitely
Diabetes Day.
organize that.
That's very
We are
important
organized.
because I think the large section of the population
Yes, sir.
Yes,
which
sir.
We'll get it
watches.
organized, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
But these guys have not been impressive. See, what they turned out today was very
Very
mediocre.
poor, sir. Very, very poor. I told them
They,
the
they
person